So at this point, you're probably wondering how this happened. We'll go over that in a second, but let's discuss the damage. This came completely off. You can see that it was ripped off here. Probably some impact right at the front, and it tore it right here, causing this to crack right here. This is all gone. All of this is just done. Doesn't look like it made it past into the actual body of the drone, the main body, so that's good. Hopefully we'll just have to replace an arm on the side. Can we reuse the motor? Well, the antenna looks strong. It looks very good. If you look super closely though, there are two wires that are completely separated. There's also a wire in here that's severed. It is just to the LEDs though. So if these are just to the LEDs, we might be able to completely reuse this motor without having to worry about these wires. You like that bumper guard? Well, FPV doesn't anymore. It is totally smashed in. You can see I took a nasty impact on the right hand side that completely obliterated this bumper guard. You can see it even cracked the screw frame right here and popped the camera frame out of the canopy. More breakage right here and down here, as well as to the side. Now, I had a problem with this motor from another crash a few days beforehand. You can watch that video, it's in the description below the like button. But this is just completely severed, so we'll have to pop this open and see how bad this looks. You can see that this plastic housing is just completely cracked. The impact was so strong that it popped this entire assembly out of the arm brace that was supposed to protect it. Though I strongly believe had this arm brace not have been here, this entire wing would have been completely ripped off and there might have been damage done to this motor as well. I do really think the arm braces are extremely important, and I also think that this bumper guard is extremely important because there is no damage done to the actual frame of the drone itself. The camera still is good. This was the night before a big Tesla event and car event, and I had the great idea to just practice and hang out in a parking lot. Typically, nothing would go wrong, but I was feeling a little bit cocky and using the very fragile DJI FPV, flying super close to trees, doing some nice maneuvers. I thought it was okay, but apparently I was not okay. So you can see I'm really close to shopping carts, which did look really cool. I did that in the Avata as well. Really close to trees, swooping in and out, getting real close to my car, all this good stuff. Everything is totally fine until now. If we watch it again really quick, you can see how the drone tilts to the side after the impact, probably because the motor just completely broke off. It wasn't able to level. But you can see after the impact how the drone really tilts to the left. Here's a little montage of me taking apart the drone because I'm like, okay, we need to desolder it from the ESC and we also need to replace some stuff, so gotta take everything apart. But I remembered that you can epoxy and fiberglass to make something strong again. So I looked this up and someone has done it before. It worked. I have to put the drone back together and I'm going to try that. Okay, so this is a lot of stuff taken off. We're just gonna test to see if everything still works. Oh, okay. I think that is because it's not held down all the way here. Okay, so as you can see, I put the drone back together and I turned the motors on. Well, why is that? The reason I wanted to do that is because I do not want to replace this arm. Well, why is that? It's broken. Well, that's fine, but a new arm is like $40 and I'm not cheap, but it's probably gonna break again. What I'm going to do is I just tape this just to feel the vibrations, and honestly with epoxy it shouldn't be that bad. We're gonna do multiple layers of fiberglass, maybe 2 or 3, just to make this super strong. I'm so glad on this one the antenna housing broke and not the actual arm, because we could probably epoxy this antenna housing together. It's not terribly important structurally. See how that works. The antennas both look good. As you can see, I turned it on and nothing bad happens. I don't know why all that white stuff is in there. That's a bit odd, but everything seems to be working. So I'm gonna take this tape off. We're gonna do a layer of epoxy all over the cracks, trying to get a little bit on the inside, and then epoxy this, fiberglass, epoxy, fiberglass, sand it down. I first fiberglassed the part that's closest to the body, then I made my way up the wing using those little ties and the rubber band to hold it in place and put it back together. The crack closest to the motor was the biggest one, so you can notice that right away. I epoxied over it. There was some drip, so you can see it bulging out really close to the motor. We'll take care of that in a second with some sanding. Pretty much done. I think we did a really good layer. There was a huge crack. Thing was dangling off, so it was a bit hard to get it secured, but we did. Now looking at at the other side, there was a crack that went right down the motor and into the screw hole. I epoxied that. Not gonna do any fiberglass here, but the epoxy should hold strong. And that's pretty much our drone so far. We're just gonna sand the excess and do a little bit of light sanding to prep for the fiberglass layer. Okay, so update on the drone, but don't worry about this stuff. This is for my rocket. That's a totally separate video. But my drone, we have some good news. So the epoxy worked really, really well. You can see it's really nicely in there. It feels very sturdy. But we're gonna fiberglass it again just to make sure. Now we have to cut the fiberglass. It's 6-ounce fiberglass like this. We're gonna have to cut this to get it to fit onto this wing right here. Should be pretty simple. We're just going to have to cut it a bit. I want it to go from about here all the way to the motor side, and we're gonna epoxy that down. Since it's 6-ounce, we're only gonna do 1 layer. I know beforehand I was gonna do like 2 or 3, but 1 should be just fine. Fiberglass came out really good. It is so strong. In fact, a little bit too strong at the edge right here because it overlaps a bit right here. I got a new antenna for both of these. This one is just, I can't use it, obviously. This one, I can. However, some of this fiberglass is blocking it. So what I'm going to do is remove this antenna. I'm going to put some tape over the wires and the motor so nothing gets in it. And I'm going to use a Dremel and take off a little bit of this fiberglass right here. So I'll do that and I'll be right back. While screwing everything in, I realized I have to replace the canopy. You can see that there's this giant dent right here and it prevents the screw hole from going in. This one's kind of straight. This one's off to the side, and so it does not align with this very well. What we're going to do is take this and put it over here. We have a new one. Now, these are a little hard to put in. Not terribly hard, but I'll show you how to do it right now. You're essentially just gonna go over the entire drone. This needs to go around the leg, and there's a total of 3 clips on each side. So 1, 2, and then a third one back here. The easiest way I find to do this is by snapping in the front two. Once those are in, you're gonna have to deal with this back one. So to deal with this back one, what I'm gonna do is try to lift up this middle part and then push this in. This does help if you have some kind of pry tool, and you can pry up in the middle as you push into the back. And it's in. That was pretty easy. Now I'm just gonna screw in the screws and then put the top on.
Let's go! That's his thrust. And half thrust, no base, and then the rest of them just to go away. Nice.